What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of B.O.P. This is your boy AD. You got my partner in crime, my boy OG, triple OG, C-Roll in the building. Stumbling over my
What's
words, man.
what's
What's
happening,
good?
baby? What's happening? What's up, AD?
What's good with you, man? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm good, man. Another day in paradise in Houston, Texas. You know how it is. The heat done simmered down. We got a little cool weather, and we still got them Houston, Texas to deal with.
Hey, the Houston Texans is ice cold right now themselves. They
Right.
they ice cold themselves. They done came out, played the New York Giants in New York, battled
That's right.
tough first half. 7-3 halftime score down. And it just fell apart in the second half. Same old story. Texans lost this game 24-16. They keep the
Yes,
narrative
sir.
alive. The one score game, they keeping that narrative alive. Um, you know,
Yeah. I mean, what can you expect, man? It'll tie anybody's tongue. You feel what I'm saying? You know, it'll tie everybody's tongue on how bad we come down to playing good throughout 3 quarters, get into the fourth quarter and do the same stuff all over again. Um, the Texans are who we thought they were.
yep.
There's no, they say you are a byproduct of your record. You are what your record says that you are. And unfortunately, we are a 1-7-1 team.
Mm.
There's no getting around it. Uh, I guess you just look for the bright spots and you
Yeah.
kind of you kind of get used to some of the downfalls that we're having to deal with early on in this rebuild. Texas fans, understand one thing: don't give up hope. This is a rebuild,
Yeah.
right? If you understand that it's a rebuild, you won't come down that hard on your team.
Yeah. And I think that's the main issue is that people say they were ready for a rebuild. They
Right?
weren't ready. They ain't ready
They,
for it. They weren't ready for it.
they
It's
say you say you're ready to get in the fight till you get hit in the jaw the first time. They
and
got hit in
if
the jaw and they don't like it.
what was I think you can tell who's upset the most just
Yeah,
by the way they going at it on Twitter and just acting a fool. On
yeah.
Twitter, man. It's Texans Twitter is in a complete debacle right now. They just all over the place, man. People don't know what they want to be for, don't know what they want to be against. They people following other people. Placating other people, man. It's just wild times out here in Texas Twitter, man. But all because of the Houston Texans. Fandom at
That's
its
right.
finest, man.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
give some stats on this game because we're gonna, we'll talk about a few plays on the game, and
Let's
we
hear them
gotta
stats, AD.
we're gonna break down the
Th- I,
upcoming
I,
game too.
and not to interrupt you, brother, but I think this is where you separate the realists from the cuckoos, because the cuckoos are going to bring out the fact that Mills threw for 300 yards,
Yeah,
and they're going to try to placate that into he had a great game, and it is everybody else's fault.
yeah.
So go. Let's get into these
So
stats.
so the stats: Davis Mills 22 for 37, 319 yards with one touchdown and one interception. He got sacked 4 times, man. So you know that sounds great. 319 yards, but we only scored 16 points. Only
Right.
threw one touchdown, so that is kind of a
It's indicative of who we are.
it's
You
just kind of
know.
resonating on what the season is, man. And then you go down the list. Damian Pierce is the workhorse, man. 17 rushes for 94 yards, 5.5 yards
Yes.
a carry. And
Yes.
the pitcher behind us had that 44-yard touchdown run. Not touchdown run. Let me stop. That 44-yard run. It would have been a touchdown if he had if he had
He had
some.
some jets. If he had some jets,
Yes, it would have been a
yeah,
touchdown.
man.
He
He
got
got the
caught from
vision.
behind.
He
Yeah,
got caught from behind. He said he was
yeah.
moving too.
Hey, he was going. He was
He
moving,
was he
man.
was
He hit the
getting up.
hole. And he just like soon as he got in that open field, that speed, it's what they say,
Well,
like a little ant. This him run. He running this way. Then the people just come right
they
behind him.
followed up
They
behind.
follow.
And see, the
But
thing
nah.
is, AD, I say this every week, and I'm happy to say this every week. I was wrong about Damon Pierce. I
Mm-hmm.
did not think Damon Pierce had the vision. I didn't think he was going to have the stamina the footwork. I didn't think he was going to have the breakaway speed to be the back that we need. Now, obviously, we all can tell that he definitely needs some help. He needs somebody that can run with him. Not a Rex Burkett, but he needs a real 1-2 punch. Now, whether he's a number one or a number two, I think he's still a number one unless you bring in a better running back, which would be hard to do because the the kid runs hard, he fights, and he plays real hard. So it's a good situation to have a good running back, and it's a good situation for me to say that I was wrong because that means we got something that I didn't think we had. And Damon Pierce is that guy, and he's been proven that he's that guy. That is one of the bright spots of this team. Um, and I think, to be honest with you, the only bright spots on this team are the rookies.
The rookies have been carrying the load. You know, we're talking about the bright spots, Damian Pierce. You know, him proving himself to be a more than capable starting running back. And then, you know, you look at Christian Harris had a hell of a game this game. He was all over the
Ooh,
place. He was flying,
yes,
you know, from place to play. Every time you saw a tackle or you saw a play being made, Christian Harris, you know,
was
was
on that
there.
play.
In
Yeah,
coverage too. He was good in coverage too.
that's right.
So he was showed out this game, you know. Then Stingley had his normal game, you know, really
Yeah,
wasn't challenged at all. Out of all the rookies, you know, then you had Petrie and Kenyon Green had some big mistakes. Petrie gave up that long touchdown on a missed tackle, and then Kenyon Green got worked over by Dexter Lawrence. So
yeah, and I saw that when Caleb, I mean when Petrie did miss that tackle, it was a big tackle that it was a simple tackle that he could have came up, squared his feet, squared his shoulders, and made the tackle. He came up and trying to lunged at him, got shook down,
hmm
and went for a long one. The thing that tripped me out a little bit was the fact that they pulled him out of the game right after that.
yeah, I didn't understand that, and I think that's another
Right.
knock on Lovey.
Yeah.
You don't pull a rookie, you know, for
After
him
after
making.
doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
you don't pull him, and I understand he's still because he did it the last game too. Trying to work Tavier Thomas in some, and I
Right.
understand that part, but at the same point in time, Petrie, you take Owens out. Hell,
Right.
take you like, take
Right.
Desmond King guy. Take
When
other
they missed
people
their
out.
tackles. Right.
Yeah, but that don't happen, and that's a whole problem in its own. We gonna,
Yeah, I didn't like that at all because when you saw him on the sideline, the face
yeah.
that Petrie had, it was like a real disgusted
hmm
appearance that he had on his face, and it was just like
Yeah.
he's the type of dude he don't belong on the sideline.
No,
I mean,
and what it is that as much as the team loves Lovey and fights and plays hard for Lovey, stuff like that doesn't resonate with the players,
it won't. Right.
and they kind of lose a little bit of respect or a little bit of
Joy for playing
joy for
for him.
playing for you. So
Yeah.
just still doing stuff like that, and I mean,
Yeah. It's
it's
tough
been
because the
it's
the
yeah.
thing about it was the fact that most people, he's going to call it a teaching moment.
Mm.
This is a moment that he would call a teaching moment. He probably pulled him to the sideline, sat him down, talked to him, told him this and that. Now he didn't sit out for very long, maybe a
No,
series,
yeah, it was like a
or maybe
maybe a series and a half that he was out. But
right,
but it's just the whole point that first of all that your defense is the reason why that even happened.
right.
Your defense is the
Your
reason why.
scheme,
Your
your
scheme is the
scheme.
reason why it even happened. So
That's right.
let's get that understood first of all,
And
because
then
he
second,
had no help over the top,
right.
no
That's
help
right.
over the top.
I
So
think
my
they ran
thing,
man coverage.
that wasn't even man.
Yeah, it was man.
It
It
was
was
man
yeah, it wasn't zero blitz man, but it was man. He had some over the help on the top.
because
That's
yeah,
that's why he went for that tackle.
but it seemed like if he wasn't in man because he was chasing.
Well, I think what it
because
was,
I think he dropped off and then tried to play man after.
we'll have to watch it on the all 22.
Yeah.
That's another thing, fellas. Y'all join us on the all 22 tomorrow when y'all get a chance.
Hmm.
The thing about it was,
Well, tonight
I
when it's
think,
ass.
well, tonight, yeah, well, yeah, on Tuesday, excuse
Hmm.
me. I think what happened was Lovey doesn't run enough man. So when he
No.
does run man, the guys, especially the younger guys, they give more of a cushion because they're not used to running the man and they
Hmm.
don't want to get beat deep. So on
Hmm.
that in particular play, I think he gave him too much cushion. He was like 10, maybe 12 yards off
Yeah.
instead of the 7 or 8 yards. And so when he ran the 5 or 10 yard stop, he was short of the sticks. He gave him too much cushion. So when he ran up to tackle him, the guy had too much time to make a move, and he missed the tackle, and he was gone. Nobody else helped him out. And the point of the matter is, don't take a guy out that's been giving you his all season.
Right. And
He's made.
been playing pretty good. One of your best players on defense.
That's what I'm
So
saying. That's right.
but they gonna take that highlight and they gonna say this is why we don't run man because we don't have nobody that can play man and all this type of stuff. They
Yeah,
gonna just excuses. At the end of the day, you got a personnel that you can run man. The only concern to me, I'm not concerned about Steven Nelson and man, even though
me neither.
he's a little shaky, but I'm not concerned. I'm not overly concerned about Steven Nelson. I'm not
Correct.
concerned about Desmond King. I'm not concerned about Derek Stingley. Hell, I'm not even concerned about Petrie and man. Long as this Petrie is even coming to the NFL, Petrie was damn good in Baylor in
That's
man
right.
coverage when it was short area of the field. Now,
That's
when
right.
it came down to him trying to cover 20, 30, 40 yards down the field, then yeah, that was a problem. But for
Correct.
him, if you got him covering the tight end, running 5, 10, 15 yards down the field, he's going to do damn good at that, damn well at that.
That's
But,
right.
that
I
that's
think
just
I,
a. Hmm?
I think what it is too. Ad. Everybody knows this saying: practice makes perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We don't practice running man enough.
Mm-mm.
And then you throw them guys out there in man coverage against NFL wide receivers, they're gonna make them guys pay, especially a rookie who's maybe ran man 10, 15 times all year.
Yeah,
You know? So
it's
it's partially the scheme that Lovey's got them in, that old scheme, and then all of a sudden, okay, we're going man. Okay, well, I haven't seen this route in man in 3 weeks.
yeah.
So what do you expect from the young guy? So I don't know. I just pointed that out because I didn't like it how they took him off the field. Uh, but yeah, to go down those stats, I guess if we go back to the offense, the offensive stats,
Yeah.
some of those stats were kind of here's a line that gets crossed. Some of those stats were garbage stats. There was a lot of passes that were being completed when it seemed like the game was out of reach.
Well, the game was out of reach going into the fourth quarter. Anytime you got a double digit lead on the Houston Texans, that the game is out of reach. Let's be all honest. I think we talked about it on the 2 episodes ago. Like the Texans only scored over 20 points, maybe twice this year.
Right.
The whole year we played 9 games, they scored over 20 points twice. Let me go back and
That's a
check the car.
shame.
Let me
I
check the
think it might only
Carfax.
be once. I know.
Hold on, let
I
me
know
check
we
the
scored.
Carfax. Let me
Check
check
the
the car.
Carfax, man.
Let me check the
I,
Carfax. So we scored
24 against somebody. I remember.
24 against the Chargers, and
Yeah.
that's it. And that's it.
Right. And then we
Wins
had
go
20 against
yeah, 20 against
against
the
the.
Bears, 20 against the Colts, 20 against the Raiders. But I mean,
Wow.
we haven't scored over 20 points but one time. So and
That's
that held
embarrassing.
true again today. We on this on Sunday we only scored 16 points. So if you got a double digit lead at that point with the Houston Texans and that offense, you cooking with grease, man. So
Yeah. Game over.
game, that anything after that is garbage time. But for the
Yeah.
Houston Texans team, but going back down the stats, man, the receiving stats look pretty good. I mean, Akins had that big catch and run for 46 yards. He ended up with
Mm.
3 catches for 72 yards. Chris Moore had 3 catches for 70 yards. He had a pretty decent game. He made
Wow.
a pretty damn good catch
Mm.
that saved Davis Mills' ass because it was tipped, and he tipped it
Mm.
back to himself and made the catch and made a hell of a play. And one thing that they have to keep doing is that wide receiver screen to Chris Moore because it's worked 2 weeks in a row, and they've got big chunk plays off of it. I think when he did it this last time, it was a 25-yard screen play that he made that he had in this Giants game, and he had it in the Eagles game. It was even more in the Eagles game. And then Nico Collins was, the most targeted. He was targeted 10 times, 5 catches, 49 yards, with that one touchdown pass that everybody gonna keep replaying the whole week long, talking about this is Davis and this is, what you get with Davis Mills
With
and this is Davis, that one highlight touchdown pass or 2 passes a game that he makes, they highlight it, but
it's
it's
just
not
too far and few in between.
it's not consistent, and I
Yeah,
think people want to go back and they want to keep comparing and saying, but at the end of the day, what good quarterback play is. You know what consistent quarterback play is.
yes, sir.
I mean, it's just
You can't
it's
build a
it's obvious.
franchise on that.
Yeah, it's obvious, and sometimes, like I said, all y'all people, man, y'all can't give these people y'all energy because they content vultures. They be in these spaces, be in these chats, and be in these comments and all this stuff, just looking for content, for something to say. And it's like a bait and switch, man. They put the little worm out there just so you can try to bite it and yank you up out the water, and got
Right.
you got you in the
Gotcha.
got you. So um, you know,
To
you
take
talk.
away from a couple things that you just said, AD, to add to it, uh, it's strange. It's very strange and weird how the two of the guys on offense that shined were
Mhm,
guys that we ran off of the team at first.
mhm.
Jordan Akins and Chris
Yeah,
Moore.
yeah.
We at first thought that they weren't good enough to make the team.
Mhm.
One of them was away for a whole year. We brought him back. Luckily, we kept a good relationship with him.
Right.
That Jordan Akins was able to come back, and I think that was amazing. That he's come back and added what he's added to this team because there's not a lot of guys that come back and jump right back in on the team and add some stuff. Chris Moore's another one. He's been off the team,
Mhm.
on the practice squad, and every time he gets a chance, he still comes in and does his thing. And then when people say, "Well, Davis Mills doesn't have nobody to throw to," let's get this. Let's can we deal with this? Are we at that stage yet to
Yeah,
deal with?
I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead. If we not, we'll get there when we
No,
get there.
we right on schedule. Go ahead, cause
Okay, okay. Let's get to this topic. We need some bells. We got any bells? Dun dun.
let me see what we got.
Fire engine. Do we got a fire
Hold
engine or
on.
something?
Let me see what we got.
A fire
Man,
horn?
something.
Because it's a fire alarm going off.
I don't think we got nothing.
We
I
ain't got
don't think we
nothing.
got nothing. I don't think we got
All
nothing.
right. Well, Texas fan, add your own sound effects. Uh, the thing is, let's talk about this, you guys. Davis, does he have a middle name?
Man, boy, Davis Aloysius. We're gonna call him Davis Aloysius.
David Aloysius Mills.
Damn.
Dave,
Damn.
damn. If Mama call him damn, I'm gonna call him damn. David Aloysius. I wish David Aloysius was just a little bit better. Okay, let's get this understood. First of all, nobody's taking anything away from Davis Mills. He went through college, he got drafted, and he's been given the opportunity to run an NFL franchise for a whole year last year. He had 11 games, 11 starts last year. Now we're at week, what is this? We have 9 games so far.
Yeah, week 9. So he 20 games starting, 22 games played.
He's had 22 games to at least show his coaches, regardless if it's the fans, but let's just talk about the fans. The coaches, his teammates, and the fans, his worth, his value, and and just a little bit of consistency. And he hasn't shown it. I have not seen 1 ounce of consistency, whether it's been good consistency or bad consistency. He hasn't shown us that. And if there was at least consistency on one of the two spectrums, good or bad, then there wouldn't be a division or argument because you would say, okay, he really is bad or he really is good. But you can't do that because he hasn't shown that to us. So he's gone through these stages of doing okay for a quarter, the next quarter not doing good, throwing an amazing pass 1 week, and then throwing three incredibly lame passes the next week, unbelievably lame passes,
Hmm.
having the lack of pocket presence that an NFL quarterback, a franchise quarterback, should have.
Hmm.
Now, he does that to us week after week after week, and we can't make Texas fans are sitting here trying to figure out: do we stick with him or do we not? Do we look to the draft or do we give him another shot? Do we let the backup quarterback play or do we let him finish the season? What are we going to do? Is he the future of this team? Can he lead us to where we want to be led to?
Hmm.
So, what
And,
is the
and
answer?
right now, I swear I ain't got the answers, but
You ain't got the answer, Sway.
I ain't got the answers, way. But man, just
What is the answer? I mean, seriously, like if you just took yourself out of being a Texas fan and you watched the games that you watched, would you say that this guy is the guy, or would you say, oh, he don't have a receiver, he don't have blocking, he don't
no.
have a coach,
I
he
think
don't have a this?
from a outside perspective, if you just looking in, you wouldn't say that he's the guy. You would just say he's a guy.
Hey, God,
He's just a guy that is playing. I mean, we just watched Monday Night Football and Taylor Heineke, who
is
who
a
couldn't
guy.
even who couldn't even start on an XFL team, who was a backup on the XFL team, comes in this Washington team and plays well enough to win them the game, puts
Correct.
them in position to win the game. And I noted all these different factors and everything, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to will your team to victory,
Give
and you
them
have
another example, AD, the guy from Carolina.
yeah. I mean, PJ Walker was another. He was the
Thank
XFL
you.
Roughnecks quarterback and end up leading them to a couple
Yes,
victories. After taking a starting job, even though he got injured.
right.
But he still was able to lead them to a victory in one of those games. They won two out of the last
Correct.
three games. So
Lost the star tailback,
yeah,
McCaffrey.
they traded him away, and
Lost
he's
the
making it.
coach.
Yeah, fired the coach, traded their star running back. They
He's
had
got it.
turned it around.
He's got every excuse in the world to not be good, right, AD?
Yeah, and they still prevailing. So
Right.
it's certain things like that because you had opportunities. You had opportunities, and then I go back to the stats, man. They want to bring up 319 yards passing, but let's not forget he only had 45 yards passing in the first half.
Mm.
Let's not
45 yards
45.
in the
Now
first half.
it was a conversation in the Lovey Smith's press conference today. It was brought up by, I think it was either Sarge or DJ, one of these guys that brought up the question to Lovey, that one of the reporters brought it up to Lovey, that David, what can you do to? I think it was Sarge. What can you do to turn around Davis Mills' production from first half to second half, where he's averaging 40 yards,
47 yards.
yeah,
Right.
47 yards in the first half? What can
What
you
can you
do
do?
to turn it around? Why is the lack of production so heavy in the first half compared to the second half? Which just shows that what type of quarterback Davis Mills is. Davis Mills is a half quarterback, not half in stature, but
He's a
he's just
half-ass quarterback. Get it right.
he's just
Half-ass quarterback.
he's only good in a half, like or
Right.
three quarters at the max. And so
Right.
that and then the fact that we only average, which is a wild stat, we average 3.3 points per game in the fourth quarter.
3.3 in the
3.3.
fourth quarter.
Three
That's
a field. We average a field goal.
that's a losing stat.
That's a losing stat. That means that you in the fourth quarter your offense dies, and
You did.
so even though it was probably already dead, but they bring up all of these different stats that
And they
highlight him, and then that irritates me is when you bring up a stat that highlights him, and then when you counter that stat with another stat, the stat that you countered with is considered a false stat, or it's not considered a truthful stat. So
right,
it's a game of cat and mouse, man. But at this point in time, I don't want to see Davis Mills benched. I've said that from the get go. I don't think my
right,
narrative has changed. I don't think anybody's narrative has changed. The only time that I feel like it was any real concern or any real possibility that he was going to be benched was the Chargers game when we were down
right,
27-0, and Kyle
right.
Allen was visibly
Started
from
warming up.
warming up. It was visible and they talked about it on the broadcast. It
Right.
was shown on the screen on the broadcast.
Yeah.
We had our Texan Twitter fans that were at the game said they saw Kyle Allen warming up way before we even saw him warming up on the TV screen. It was a that right there was a real. Ain't no Kyle Allen had a ball cap on every game of this season.
Right.
And in that Chargers game, he gonna put on the helmet and start warming up.
Right.
That ain't out of coincidence. That ain't just happenstance. That happened for a reason.
That's right.
And
It
so
was given to him by a coach.
right.
Told right.
And so that was to me, I think the only real threat of Davis Mills getting benched. But
Okay.
I highly doubt that he's going to get benched because at the end of the day, the Texans always find a way to make it a one-score game. They're gonna make this narrative. It's gonna be a stat that people bring up at the end of the year. The Texans lost. They we ended up 115-1. All but maybe 3 or 4 games were one-score games. Even this game was a one-score game, 24-16.
Okay. Here's one of the excuses that I get all the time. Davis Mills doesn't play defense. Davis Mills doesn't play defense, and so I guess to to speak back to that is the fact that I remember Deshaun Watson. Yes, I said his name. Deshaun Watson had a year where he threw for like 4,000 some yards, broke
Mm-hmm.
some records. He was the NFL leading in passer
Mm-hmm.
rating. He had no receivers that year.
Yeah.
For more than half of the year, he had was throwing to nobody. I remember the last game of the season, J.J. Watt walking him off the field and telling him, "Hey man, the
We'll let you
defense
down.
let you down.
Mm-hmm.
We wasted one of your great seasons."
Yeah.
So you can be on a team who has a poor or shitty defense and still be a great quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it's shown. It's kind of
That
shown.
yes,
Yeah. It's shown a lot in the NFL. It's plenty of times
sure,
that offenses have shitty defenses, and then they come and they just outscore. They just outscore you.
right.
They just
Not
they
saying that we should win, or not saying that
no,
we should
but
overcome it, but that's not an excuse.
but
You can have a crappy defense who can't stop the run, but you can witness and observe and observe a quarterback who looks like he's worthy to keep his job.
so let me say this, Chris. So what's crazy is that as much as you want to talk about the defense, they've given up over 30 points twice in
Only
9 games.
times.
And that was the 34 points to the Chargers and the 38 points to the Raiders. And every other game was 20 points against the Colts, 16 points against the Broncos, 23 points against the
Wow,
Bears, 6 points against the Jaguars, 17
wow,
points against the Titans, 29 against the Eagles, and 24 against the Giants. So, I mean, these are not teams putting up 30, 40 points and we just,
getting
it's
blowed out like
inevitable.
that.
These
Right.
these these teams are barely scoring, 20 to
20
25
points.
points.
Right.
So it's opportunities there And as bad as the defense is, yes, nobody's taking away that the defense is bad. I think we've known that the Texas defense has
That's
been
right.
bad for probably about 3 or 4 years now.
Right. That's
So
right.
it's not. This is not something new. The Texans
No.
defense
Right.
has been bad. I think this
So
is
we
year four that the
so
defense has been bad.
so we know that excuse is bull crap, right? All
Hmm.
right. So excuse what I get told. The question, excuse number two: our offensive line don't block.
Hmm.
Do we have any stats on that? Our
I
offensive
mean, it's
line don't block, and the only reason I say that is because I'll go back to the last quarterback that we had. There was a season where this man was sacked 62 times. 62 times. The line was ferocious. We had Chris
mhm.
Lamb
Kendall Lamb. Yeah,
Kendall Lamb and
just
Davenport and
yeah.
just
It
a
was.
array of below average offensive linemen, and he
Mhm.
overcame that. He overcame that. That can't be used as an excuse. This year, I think we have a pretty good O line, and they tell us no, we don't. But then you turn around and say, well, look at our running back.
Mhm.
Our running back having a hell of a year. You
Yeah.
know,
So just to kind of go through it. 16,
what are the
6,
stats
20.
on the
He's been
sacks?
out of 9 games. He's been sacked 23 times.
23 times,
23
9 sacks.
times.
So if you
So
double that up, it'd be 43 minus 2 games. It'd be another probably about 30 sacks altogether. 35 sacks at the most. That's
So
far.
it's 2.5 sacks a game. If you go over 17 games, it's 43. Like you said, 43 sacks for the year. That to me is it's a decent sized number, but
Correct.
it's not a ridiculous number that we've seen. I mean, David Carr got sacked how many times? He got sacked a record
70.
70
Yeah, he's
something
70
times.
sometime.
Sean 60 something times. I mean, like it's a difference, and you know, some of those sacks are caused by Davis Mills too. Let's get that
Yeah.
understood. But the
Well,
offense,
I don't want to do him like that because
no,
I didn't do Deshaun like that.
no, but
Uh,
because Deshaun caused some of his own problems
Yeah,
too.
he
But
caused some of his own. That I don't want to do that to Davis Mills. I'm just
so
saying that
it's that the offensive
it's not a
line is
historically bad
no,
offensive line.
and I think the main, if you want to call the worst position on the offensive line, it is the center position. But you
Yeah,
have to look at it that Scott Quisenberry is a journeyman offensive lineman that started a total of maybe like 10 or 12 games
yes,
in a 7 year career. He and 9 of them was in one season because of injury.
right,
So he's a reserve center,
right.
and people
He's a
are upset.
placeholder.
Right, he's a placeholder, and people are upset because he's playing bad and this and that. But who else is there that's going to be there? Who else is there to play?
We
And
don't
my
have the
thing
time
is,
or the money to find another one.
right, and as bad as Justin Britt was week one,
Right.
as that to
Quisenberry
me,
has outplayed that.
Quisenberry has been
Yeah,
better than decent. You
that's
know,
right.
at the very least, he's been decent.
Okay.
And and and
So
and I understand that's a position that we need to upgrade, and that's probably
correct.
what's going to be that is going to be upgraded. But you can't sit up here and say that you know that yeah, Kenyon Green played bad, Quisenberry played bad. Can had a few missed blocks, but that interior offensive line is not as bad as you think. Because I
Right.
talked about it in the last episode with Coach Dante that it was like a train with the Eagles game, man. It was literally them that
Collapse in the middle.
Quisenberry, Can, and Green were pushing the Eagles defensive
That's it.
line, and Pierce was just hiding behind them for 5 or 6 yards to carry, and it's like they are excellent run blockers, and yes, pass blocking leaves a little bit to be desired, but they're not horrible. They're not turnstiles. Now, you can cherry pick plays.
Right.
Shout out to my boy Jules. He's adamant about them cherry picking certain plays
Correct.
and saying this is what the whole game was.
Was right.
And don't sit up here and pick 2 or 3 plays out of the whole game and say this is what the offensive line was doing the whole game. No, it's not. That's
Right.
false. that's false advertising, that's false. You putting out false narratives,
Right.
and
And then
so
to be the devil's advocate against that, so that we're not just being Texas fans that are speaking one sided. There are some plays that Davis Mills do make that you say, wow, if this
mhm,
guy can do this on a regular basis, maybe he could be somebody.
right,
But it's like one play a half.
right, and
One
and the and the thing about it, to add to that, is that if he can do that, if these situations were so bad, well, how was he able to do with that play?
right,
Why was he able to make that pass?
right,
And then in the same situation, when it's time to make that pass again, that pass is not being made.
right.
So you can't say that it's the offensive
Well,
line or the
you know what
receivers.
speaks to that? That speaks to exactly what you said. I think you told me about the play because I missed that play. I caught the second half of the play. He threw a touchdown to Cooks,
Hmm.
and it got called back because of a penalty.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a good. It wasn't an awesome dart or anything like that. It was a bad play by the safety, is what it was. The
Hmm.
safety was playing too soft. Cook snuck in with a stutter step behind the cornerback, and he was just sitting wide open right in between them. It was a
Hmm.
great pass. It was a good pass. Touchdown. Got
Hmm.
called back because of a penalty. The very
Every
next
next play.
play, he throws a lazy lob jump ball
Hmm.
in the double coverage that gets picked off in the same exact spot.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about when I say consistency.
Right.
If you can't have consistency with your quarterback,
Hmm.
you're not going to have consistency with your team.
Hmm.
Lovie Smith said it, particularly this week. We can't turn over the ball.
Hmm.
We cannot go into the red zone and get turned down 6 times. I think we went into the red zone 6 times, and we
Hmm.
didn't put it in the end zone 6 times.
We only
We
put
came
in
away
one.
with
We were one for six in the red zone for touchdowns, and I think we scored 3 field goals.
with 2 turnovers.
Hmm.
Right? So that's not going to work. And I think Lovey is getting upset with it. There was a couple of words that I heard in Lovey's press conference that I haven't heard him say, but he said it at least 3 or 4 times. And the word was the quarterback did not make the throw.
Hmm.
Well, we did. He said we didn't make the throw. The throw
Hmm.
needed to be made, and it wasn't made. And so I think he's starting to get upset with it. And if you keep talking to a coach and you keep pointing out to a coach and he has to answer the same questions over and over
Again.
about your
So
quarterback,
the truth is going to eventually come out in little
he's
spurts.
that's right.
And just to go back to something else he said that I
Hmm.
think people are not going to really pay attention to.
Hmm.
But he said, I think he was asked if Davis Mills should be benched because of his poor play in the first half and everything like that. He said, well, it's not time for that
It's not
yet.
yet.
It's not
Right.
time for that
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
So that means that it's already been a
Talked
discussion.
about.
It's already
Yeah.
been talked about amongst the coaches and everything. So when the head coach makes a statement like that, and
Mm.
you have to read in between the tea leaves and in between the lines, because the coach speak will give you a little bit of truth and a
Right.
lot of bit of coach speak. If
You
you
got to
just
read
listen,
in between the
you gotta
lines.
read in between the lines, and you gotta listen to what they saying. The same time that same quote that Lovey had is that you got the only way to learn how to win is you gotta learn how to lose. That's the only way you that quote right there. Mean that quote right there, if you read in between the lines, mean that we about to do a lot of losing out here. So just be
Yeah, right.
prepared.
Well, that must mean we got a whole lot of winning we're gonna catch up on.
Yeah, so
That is funny.
we talked about Davis
That is
Mills,
funny.
man. But we need to let's move into this Power Bears segment so we can talk about our Power
Okay.
Bears for the week, man.
Okay.
B.O.P presents who is the Paul Bearer for the week. All right, so this is our weekly segment. Paul Bearer of the week. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off, and I'm gonna go ahead and start with it, man. I got quite a few a list of players, and coaches that need to be put on the pallbearer list, man. I'm gonna start with we just talked about the offensive line. You know, they've been solid, but you know, Quisenberry and Kenyon Green, y'all on the pallbearer list. Go ahead and get your white gloves together.
Mm,
You know, Jalen Petrie and Jonathan Owens. Go ahead
mm,
and get y'all white gloves together. Lovey Smith. Go ahead and, you
mm.
know, put yourself behind the ball. You know, get your white glove and black suit, tailored suit ready to go. Um, so
Golly.
Davis Mills,
Yeah, Davis.
that first half, man, you know that second half couldn't save you, man. You still got to be on that right side of that, holding up that casket at the back. You know, so
42 yards.
45 yards at halftime, that automatically puts you as a pallbearer of the week. You know, let's. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Of course, you know Christian Kirksey is, to me, he's the
Mm,
permanent pallbearer of the
mm,
season, so he
mm,
gonna always be there because
mm,
you know Christian Kirksey is you know adamant about being a pallbearer. He fighting people if he ain't on that program that's named as the pallbearer.
mm.
Any other players, Chris, you have or
Well, you got all the pallbearers listed that should be listed. I mean, they should have double gloves on. They should have their gloves on for last week. Uh, they should have a pair of them in their glove box when they get out the car to get on Kirby. They should already have them when they drive on because you know
hmm
what? They've always said if something's dead and you don't bury it, it starts to stink, dog. It starts to stink, and that's what's going on. It's starting to
man,
stink around there on Kirby, man. It's
yeah.
stinking on Saturdays. It's stinking on Sundays. You come in on Mondays and you don't bear it. Who's supposed to take
Man,
out the
it's
trash last week?
look,
Somebody's supposed to be. We supposed to have a pallbearer last week. He
yeah.
didn't do his job. I see the gloves, man. We gave you extra large. You said
hmm
you needed a bigger size glove. We gave you your gloves. Now I need y'all to carry this casket, throw a little dirt on it because it's starting to stink. And now who
Hey,
else? I add one person to that carriers list.
hmm
That is Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, hey, oh, let's talk about it.
I
Brandon
got
Cooks,
I gotta add your little short ass to the back of that casket
little pouting
because
ass,
little pouting ass, Winnie the Pooh looking ass,
Eeyore
shoot
looking
the Eeyore
at.
looking ass, shoot the arrow looking. I've been growing these braids for 22 years looking at.
They still ain't but by my ears.
He ain't got no hang time looking at. He need a pair of little extra small gloves. As short as he is, he can't catch balls low to the ground.
Mm-mm.
And you brought down the energy of the team. Even though he was already low, you made it even lower. You
Yeah.
pissed everybody off. You stirred up some shit in the locker room that didn't need to be stirred up.
Mm-mm.
You turned away from the one guy in the locker room who had your back from the beginning, and that was Nick Casario. And now you act like you don't know him. You know what I'm saying? You act like you boys wasn't partners way back when.
Hold on, you
And
was my homie, but now you act like you don't know me.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just he needs to have a pair of gloves and carry that casket
hmm
because when you do stuff like that, I noticed something in the game because of that.
hmm
Third down situations, Davis Mills was looking to Nico Collins. Davis
Nico
Mills,
Collins had the most targets of the whole game out of any
there was
receiver.
there was one play. There was one play where Davis Mills must have threw a mail carrier service pass. It took like 3 days and 3 nights. You know, you had to sign for the package when it got there. It took so long. To Chris Moore in the flats, and Brandon Cooks was running wide open to the corner of the end zone.
hmm
And normally he would hit him. Normally his eyes would have been set on Brandon Cooks,
Well, I
but
mean, you know, Chris, what's his name? Seth Payne put out a video. He said he made a quote. You know, what they say in the locker room is that if he's even, he beaten.
yeah, if you even, you're leaving.
Yeah, you leaving. You if you even,
If
you
I'm
leaving.
even, I'm
So
leaving him. Yeah, if I'm
yes.
even, I'm leaving. And
So
he was even with him. He should
hmm
have hit. And that goes to say what I was saying. If there's some turmoil between him and Davis Mills now,
hmm
if there's not that trust that there was because at the beginning of the year, the only person he threw to was Brandon Cooks.
Mm-hmm.
And on this play in particular, if his eyes would have went to Brandon Cooks first, it was touchdown. I mean, soon as he caught the snap, it
Yeah.
was like, oh, he was open.
Yeah.
Boom, you drop it in that corner, that's touchdown. But
Yeah. And that to me that was a non-excuse play because he had the time.
yeah,
He wasn't pressured.
yeah,
And if you're indecisive, plays like
yeah,
that happen. Let's break down the situation. It was third and
yeah,
nine.
right.
39. So if you're gonna make that decision to go to Chris Moore in the flats,
You
because it was
throw it
almost
early,
like a rub route. Because
right,
Chris, as soon as Chris Moore gets in his break, Brandon Cooks is running past him on that go route. And so if
wow,
you look at it, if Davis Mills sees that, if he's gonna make the decision to go to Chris Moore, even though it was short of the sticks, if you hit him as soon as he gets out of his break, he at the very least gets the first down.
can lean at the
Can
towards the
he can
first,
he can get because at he was what 5 or 6 yards,
correct,
and he would have been maybe 3 or 4 yards.
short,
Nobody was
right,
behind. Nobody was by him, but because you were indecisive of either throwing it to Cooks or throwing it to Chris Moore, that extra beat pad of the football
right.
gave that DB enough time to beat the
Not only
ball.
not only that, but he threw the ball like a touch pass.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He threw the ball, but because you beating the ball and you make that
Yeah,
throw,
yeah,
you
yeah,
give the DB enough time to recover and beat Chris Moore to the ball.
yeah,
Chris Moore is almost waiting for the football, and the DB comes and breaks it up.
yeah.
So it's you can say the receiver needed to go get it, but how
Now you ain't got to say none of that, AD. The
you
true
know
simple fact of the matter is, he had two receivers on the same side of the field. He had
hmm
no pressure in his face. Nobody was rushing his throw, and
hmm
he didn't have to even turn his head to see which one to throw to. And he
yeah
chose the wrong route, and then he threw the wrong pass.
yeah
So
I
that's
mean
the consistency that I'm talking about. And I'd be damned if I go through another season trying to hope and wish and pray to God that this kid gets it. He didn't get it. He's not getting
yeah
it. He's
yeah
had.
and
You
it's
can
it
tell
you
if a quarterback gets it, bro. You don't
right
need a whole 5 years to see. I mean, Herbert wasn't so good and he don't finish his games, but you can see he gets it. He
hmm
knows it. He can do it. You can see he has the ability.
hmm
Lamar Jackson, he has a hard time throwing the ball, but he has that it factor. He
hmm
has that thing
the
that you
game
put your
breaking
money.
ability.
Yeah, I don't want no mediocre quarterback, bro. I
Right.
don't want no. I thank God we had Matt Schaub when we had him, but I don't want no more of that, man. I'm telling
hmm
people say this all the time. Well, we just need a game manager, build the team around them. That's not how it works because the Rams had that, and
Yeah.
they didn't win the Super Bowl until they went and got a real deal quarterback. Right?
Yeah.
I know they losing now, but the team that they had put together at the time, they needed a quarterback to get them over the hump. I say if we're gonna blend into the next segment, which is the draft watch.
Yeah.
If we're gonna blend into the next segment, Texas fans, which is the draft watch, it blends in perfectly because
hmm
we're in great position to take a quarterback. We
hmm
don't know when we're going to be in that position again. As of this week, we have the number 1 and the number
Yeah.
9 draft picks.
Right. Every team that all the teams except the Raiders who choked at the end, they could have gave us a clean sweep. And they made it so I think
Right.
Carolina won on Thursday night.
Correct.
I think who else? The Lions won.
The Lions
The
won.
Lions
The
won.
the the,
The
the Browns lost.
Yeah, the Packers won.
The Packers
The
won. They beat the.
the Cowboys. Packers beat the Cowboys.
No, it was a
Um,
week before that.
no, I'm talking about this week.
Oh, this week. Okay.
This week. Yeah, the Packers
Oh yeah, yeah,
won.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
Packers won. Lions won.
Steelers won.
Steelers won. And, everybody that was in contention for that number one overall pick won, and except the Raiders. If the Raiders would have
Right.
won, we would have a comfortable two win, 2 game cushion for the number
On
one pick
everybody.
on everybody. Right now, we got a half game lead over the Raiders.
Do we suspect that they can win another game?
The Raiders, yeah,
Yeah, the Raiders.
The Raiders will win another game. I'm looking at it right now. You got, current draft order is Texans, Raiders, Panthers, Eagles. Who got the Saints pick? Jaguars and Bears in the top
Mm.
six pick. They just showing the graphic on ESPN. It's kind of ironic. We talking about it and they showing it on
On
ESPN. um,
ESPN.
but the Texans 1-7-1, Raiders 2-7, Panthers 3-7, the Saints 3-7, the Jaguars 3-7, and the Bears 3-7. So all
So
these teams,
we basically got a 2 game losing lead
yeah,
on the rest of the losers
hmm,
in the loser bracket of the NFL for
right,
the lead for the number one pick. We are 1-7-1.
yeah,
The Raiders, which kind of was different because the Raiders should have beaten the Colts, but
hmm,
by the Colts winning, it kind of gives us a little more separation from the Colts,
yeah,
which is kind of good too because we do have that tie with the Colts,
yeah.
and
So even
so
if it came down to it, we would have to win at least three more games to
come
even
close to
be
the Colts.
right. So that right there, and I think we
It
have
helps
a
us.
it helps us a lot, man. And just, going into it, I'm looking at it right now after watching that Monday night football game. We in for a long day on Sunday, man.
Yeah,
Sunday we
man.
play Sunday we play the Washington Commanders. They just
Yeah,
upset the
the
undefeated
Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles, and they about to come in to Houston, Texas, and they about to try to run rampant. I mean, Brian
Yeah.
Robinson and Gibson, that running back tandem
Yes.
that they have
It
is
didn't look like a
amazing.
fluke, did it? It didn't look like a
No,
fluke at all.
they went with them, and I think the Eagles scored really quick in the beginning of that game, and they turned around and they tied it, and they just kept pushing and took the lead. And going into halftime, took the lead. It was the first time all season Philadelphia's been behind at
Right.
halftime, and
Right.
so because of that, man, they came in and made some hellified plays. Their defense came to play. They shut down Jalen Hurts and them boys in the second half, man, and really made it a game and really made it tough. So I feel like going into this game, it's gonna be another one of those games, where it's gonna be tough, for us to get it to going. And for them, they run defense is pretty damn good.
Yeah,
And
they are.
if we can't get Damian Pierce going, hope is about lost for for Davis Mills, man, because we ain't gonna be able to do nothing, man. I just feel like it's gonna be bad. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about it? What do you want to see?
Well,
Going into this game on
well,
Sunday.
what I saw tonight was watching the Monday night football game was a quarterback in Heineke
Hmm.
who came out there as a backup quarterback and showed that he belonged
Yeah.
and showed that he has won over the trust of his teammates.
Hmm.
And so it's not like we're going up against a backup quarterback. Now they have Carson Wentz that should be back and healthy next week, but I don't think he steps in and gets
No,
his starting position back.
they gonna roll with Heineke. I think that
Right?
especially if they go on a little winning streak,
Correct.
I think they gonna roll with Heineke and
That's right.
until they lose. Right now they 500. They 5-5.
Right. How can you
So
cannot
you
pull the
can't.
kid out doing this good? And the
Right.
fact of the matter is, he is finding McLaren. He's finding his tight ends. He's
Hmm.
finding Samuels. He's finding all his guys. And with that dual threat running back that they got, the 1-2 punch of the running back duel,
Yeah,
uh,
Gibson and Robinson.
they look to control the offense and carry that offense.
They
So if
they
we
won.
can't, uh,
No, I'm saying they killed the time of possession. They almost doubled the Eagles with time of possession.
we'll see. That's how
Like
you do it.
I think two of their scoring drives were like 12 plus plays, 7-8 minute drives.
Wow, killed the
I
whole
think
quarter.
took up almost a whole quarter in the first half. Those two scoring
Wow,
touchdown drives that they had. So I mean, that's the type of team you about to go against, man. But
and
it's
that's kind of how you got to beat the Eagles because Jalen Hurts is kind of a rhythm quarterback.
mm-hmm.
Well, if he stays in a rhythm, he'll get on your ass. But if he's not in a rhythm, he kind of plays out of rhythm, and he got to build it up, and they build off of quarter after quarter success. So yeah, I think it's going to be struggle for us to go out there and win this game. I've told Texas fans all year,
Mm-hmm.
and I've apologized for it, but I'm tired of apologizing for it. The fact of the matter is, I want my team to be competitive, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't need us winning these useless games. I said it
Yeah.
last year. People got pissed at me last year for saying it when I was pissed that we lost that game and let them jump us. This year, I don't see the benefits of winning another game. I love my team. I always want us to win. I cheer for them to win throughout the game. But in
Mm-hmm.
reality, if you tell me that we win two games and then we end up picking number eight, what good is that going to do us? We need deep
Yeah.
tackles. Yeah, we need defensive players. We need a quarterback. We need all these players.
Mm-hmm.
So
And right now we're in prime position to get it all. We have 11 picks in this draft, so
yeah,
we can address every
everything.
position of need with quality. I mean, as much as they want to give Nick Casario praise for his draft this last year and finding gems, with the Kenyon Green, Christian Harris, the Petries and Stingleys, and
That's right.
all of these different guys that you found in the draft, even the undrafted free agents and Heinisch, came in
That's
and
right.
has played pretty decent, and TQ, Tegan Quatoriano, the rookie that came in and scored a
Caught
touchdown
a
against the
touchdown.
Eagles, and then backdoored, and he blocked the hell. He had a few blocks that I was like, okay, I see you out there when he played, sparingly against the Giants.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, he was in blocking on that 44-yard run with Damian Pierce.
Right.
So it's
These are guys
is
you can build on.
these are guys that you can find. He's missed on a few players. The Thomas Bookers and of the world.
Yeah.
Who ain't really showing out. The Roy Lopez and all those guys
Yeah,
of the
but
world.
those are 6 round picks. You
Those
can't
are
really.
yeah. You can't
Those are shots in
fault.
the dark a lot of times.
Right, and so you look at that, but I mean, if he's able to turn around, you got five picks in the top 3 rounds. So you got
Right.
two first, two third, and a second round pick. You got five picks, and so you
That's
you ought
good.
to be able to take those five picks and make some serious talent. And we're not even talking about John Mechie when he comes in. That's an
That's an
added
extra.
draft. That's
That
an extra
is.
draft pick that
That's
you
right.
already addressed. So these are things that Texan fans you kind of need to be looking forward to and getting excited for. I know
That's
it's going to
right.
be some interesting conversations come January because we got 3 months to talk about this draft. But before we sign off for the evening, man, what is your score predictions for this game against Washington?
Well, thank you again tonight, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
B.O.P for life, man. We're
yeah.
doing it. We're doing it big, you guys. Thanks for listening. Hit that
Mm-hmm.
like, subscribe, and follow, man. Don't forget to hit the like. It take you 5 seconds to reach your little fat finger down there and hit like and subscribe, bro. I promise you, we won't bother you that much. Um, my score, Texas fans. My score for the Washington Commanders versus the Houston Texans, which will be played in Houston at what's the name of our stadium?
NRG. NRG
NRG Stadium on Kirby. At what time, Mr. AD?
at noon.
At noon, 12 o'clock noon,
Mm-hmm.
will be the Washington Commanders 29 points.
Mm.
The Washington Commanders 29 points. And the Houston Texans, I believe, will score 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
14 points, sir.
So
29-14. And one of the touchdowns, hold on, let me call that back. What's the next one? 29-21. Let's call it to 20 with a missed extra point. So 29-20. One of the touchdowns will be a defensive touchdown. I think Lovie Smith pushes his defense to get a takeaway, a pick six, or a
mhm.
return fumble for a touchdown. So 29-20, the Commanders.
So last week, I kind of feel like Nostradamus because last week I
Mm.
predicted my prediction with Coach Dante. My prediction was the Texans would lose 23-16.
23-16.
And the
You right
Texans,
on.
the Texans lost 24-16. They got me by a
Mm,
point,
yeah.
but I think
Negro Diamonds.
Negro Diamonds, man. I think it's gonna be another low scoring, one score game. It's gonna fit the narrative. It's gonna be, and I don't think it's gonna be as high as you giving the Commanders. I don't think they're gonna score 29 points.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, they didn't score but 26 against the Eagles, and they scored that late BS touchdown at the end of the game and made it 32. But they only scored 26 points, and that was after the Eagles fumbled the ball and had 3 turnovers. So I think that the Commanders will score. I think it's gonna be something like it's gonna be 20. I say they get 20 points, and the Texans end up with maybe 13. 20 to 13.
2013.
2013 Commanders win this game. Texans go to 1-8-1. Keep
Mm,
that number one pick alive.
mm.
As you know, when they get up after that game, they're gonna be saying, "We headed to Miami. Welcome to
Welcome
Miami."
to Miami.
So they
Do you
already.
question? Do you don't think that did Heineke didn't Heineke come into Houston and beat us with
He
a
played.
team?
Heineke
He already beat
played.
us once, right?
I think Heineke played with the Panthers. He came in. Him and Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen beat Houston,
Oh, it was Kyle
but
Allen.
Heineke played for Houston.
He played. Oh, he did.
He played for Houston. He played for Houston for like a game or two.
That's
He didn't
right.
start, but he played in a game or two, and he played okay.
Oh, he didn't he come? Oh, he came in when
Hmm.
for the Redskins at the time when what's the name broke his leg, right? Kyle, I mean, what's the quarterback that broke his legs from Kansas City Chiefs?
Oh, you talking about Alex Smith? No,
Yeah,
no, no, no. Heineke didn't. No, no, no. He didn't play that game. No, he wasn't with the Washington
with
back
them
then.
then.
No,
Okay,
I think he was with us back then.
he was with us.
Yeah,
Okay,
he came in. I think this was before. I think it was the year that Deshaun got hurt. His rookie year is when Heineke came, and
okay,
Heineke came in and played. I think a half because either Tom
yeah,
Savage got hurt or
yeah.
something like that, and Heineke came in and played a little bit in the second half of a game for the Houston Texans. So he's been here. He signed with the Texans, played practice squad and brought
So he's
up,
been
and
here
he's
before.
been here before. He's been in NRG.
I just think that
Uh oh, lost Chris, but all in all, man, the Houston Texans got a lot to look forward to in the future, man, with these draft picks. And with that being said, man, please like, share, subscribe. Turn that notification bell on so you can catch these episodes, man. We coming in high fresh every week. The Twitter handles below, Black on 713, Bully 60, at Royal Texan Fan, at Jeff Bear. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, man. And guess what, man? Shout out to my boy Sierra for chiming in, helping me out today, being my co-host, man. And we'll see y'all on the next episode, man. Peace.